The lights flickered once, twice, like a heartbeat stuttering in the chest of the old building, and then plunged the entire library into an abyss of black. Isaiah's fingers tightened around the spine of his worn copy of The Great Gatsby, the words blurring into nothingness as panic rippled through the stacks. Whispers turning to gasps, chairs scraping like bones against stone. In that suffocating dark, a hand strong, unfamiliar, electric, grazed his arm, pulling him close, and before he could scream or shove or even breathe, warm lips crashed into his, tasting of coffee and rain-soaked regret, igniting a fire that no generator could ever bring back. Isaiah stumbled back against the reference shelf, his heart hammering like a freight train through the empty stacks of the university library at UC Berkeley. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and sudden fear, the kind that clings to your skin long after the danger passes. Outside, a late autumn storm battered the Bay Area, thunder rumbling like an afterthought to the chaos inside. It was finals week, and the undergrads had scattered like roaches when the power died, leaving only the diehards, the ones chasing deadlines or drowning sorrows in footnotes. Isaiah was both, nursing a bruised ego from another failed hookup update and a thesis on queer identity in modernist literature that felt as stalled as his love life. He'd come here to escape, to the third floor where the English Lit section felt like a sanctuary, walls lined with ghosts of authors who'd loved harder and lost deeper than he ever dared. At 24, Isaiah Ramirez was a mixed bag of contradictions. Half Mexican heritage from his mom's side, pale enough to pass for white in the wrong light, with curly black hair that refused taming and hazel eyes that hid too much hurt. He'd grown up in the sprawling suburbs of Sacramento, where being gay meant whispers at church and sideways glances at family barbecues. College was supposed to be liberation, but Berkeley's progressive bubble had only amplified his isolation. Everyone seemed so effortlessly out and proud, while he lurked in the shadows, swiping left on his own reflection. The kiss lingered on his lips like a brand, uninvited and unforgettable. Who the hell was that guy? In the pitch black, faces were phantoms, but Isaiah could still feel the ghost of stubble against his cheek, the firm press of a body that smelled faintly of sandalwood cologne and wet wool coat. Emergency lights hummed to life in sporadic bursts, casting the room in a reddish glow like the embers of a dying fire. Students groaned and shuffled toward the exits, flashlights from phones slicing through the gloom. Isaiah stayed put, knees weak, book clutched like a shield. "You okay?" A voice cut through the murmur, low, with that California drawl that made everything sound like sunshine on asphalt. Isaiah turned, and there he was, leaning against the dewy decimal rack, arms crossed over a navy peacoat that hugged broad shoulders. Tall, maybe 6'2", with sharp jawline shadowed by a day's growth of beard, and eyes like polished obsidian, catching the red light in a way that made Isaiah's stomach flip. His hair was dark blonde, tousled from the wind, and a crooked smile played on lips that Isaiah now knew tasted like forbidden fruit. "Ah, yeah. Fine." Isaiah's voice cracked, heat flooding his face. He shoved the book into his backpack, willing his hands to stop trembling. "That was you, wasn't it?" In the dark, the stranger's smile widened, not apologetic but unashamed, like he'd just claimed a territory no one else had noticed. "Guilty. Name's Adrian. Adrian Hale. Saw you sitting there, looking like the world was ending before the lights even went out. Figured you needed a spark." Isaiah laughed, a sharp, disbelieving bark that echoed off the shelves. "A spark? In the middle of a blackout? That's your move." Adrian shrugged, stepping closer, his presence filling the narrow aisle like he owned it. Close, Isaiah could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the kind that told stories of reckless youth, maybe a skateboarding wipeout or a bar fight gone wrong. Moves are overrated. Instincts, those don't lie. And mine said you were worth the risk. The generators kicked in fully then. Fluorescence buzzing back to life overhead, washing the room in sterile white. The spell shattered, but the charge between them hummed like a live wire. Adrian was older, late 20s maybe, with the easy confidence of someone who'd navigated life's curveballs and come out swinging. He worked in tech. He said casually, freelance coder for startups in the Silicon Valley orbit, crashing at a friend's in Oakland for the week. Isaiah didn't ask why a guy like that was haunting the library at midnight. Some questions felt too intimate for fluorescent purgatory. They talked, or rather, Adrian talked, drawing Isaiah out like a reluctant tide. About Gatsby's green light, illusions of love in a world that chews you up. About Sacramento's relentless heat versus Berkeley's foggy embrace. Isaiah found himself spilling fragments. The ex who ghosted him after coming out to his conservative folks. The fear that academia was just another closet with better lighting. Adrian listened, really listened, his dark eyes never straying, as if Isaiah's words were the only code worth cracking. By the time the storm eased and the library announced an early close, Isaiah's backpack felt heavier with possibility. "Walk you to Bart?" Adrian offered, slinging his own bag over one shoulder. Isaiah hesitated, the rational part of him screaming caution. Strangers in libraries, kisses in blackouts. They were rom-com tropes, not real life. But the pull was magnetic, a gravity he'd only read about in novels. Sure. Why not? The campus was a watercolor of puddles and sodium lamps as they strolled down Bancroft Way, steam rising from grates like sighs from the earth. Adrian's hand brushed Isaiah's once, twice, accidental until it wasn't, fingers lacing in a grip that felt like anchoring. At the station, under the harsh glare of the turnstiles, Adrian leaned in again, this time with warning. "That wasn't just the dark talking," he murmured, breath warm against Isaiah's ear. "Text me." He slipped a scribbled number into Isaiah's palm, then vanished into the crowd, leaving Isaiah adrift on the platform, heart racing like the incoming train. That night, in his cramped studio off Telegraph Avenue, Isaiah stared at his phone until the screen burned his retinas. "Hey, it's the guy from the stacks. Still tasting like trouble?" The message pinged at 2 a.m., and Isaiah's thumbs flew before his brain could catch up. More like salvation. Coffee tomorrow? What followed was a whirlwind that Berkeley's hills couldn't contain. Adrian became a fixture. Lazy mornings at the Free Speech Movement Cafe, where he'd steal Isaiah's croissant and argue the merits of Brokeback Mountain over Fitzgerald. Evenings wandering the rose gardens in Golden Gate Park, hands swinging until they tangled, kisses stolen under the shadow of the Conservatory of Flowers. Adrian was a revelation, unapologetically queer, out since 16 in a San Francisco family that threw pride parties like barbecues. He coded apps for queer nonprofits, dreamed of launching his own startup to connect isolated LGBTQ plus youth in red states. Isaiah soaked it in, the way a desert drinks rain, feeling seen for the first time without the weight of explanation. But cracks spiderwebbed early, subtle as fog rolling in. Adrian's phone buzzed incessantly during their dates, texts from clients, late-night calls he took in the next room. "Just work," he'd say with that disarming grin, but his eyes would shudder, like code compiling behind a firewall. Isaiah pushed it down, chalking it up to freelance hustle. After all, wasn't this what he'd craved? A love that fit like a well-worn flannel, soft edges and all. Thanksgiving loomed, and with it, Isaiah's annual dread. Flying back to Sacramento for tamales and passive-aggressive questions from Tios about that special someone. Adrian sensed it, the way he sensed everything. "Come to my folks in the Castro," he suggested one night, tangled in Isaiah's sheets, city lights painting their skin in neon. "Mom makes killer apple pie, and Dad's got stories that'd make Hemingway blush." Isaiah's chest ached with want. "You sure? I mean, meeting the parents after, what, 3 months?" Adrian propped on an elbow, tracing Isaiah's collarbone with a fingertip. 3 months of you being the best plot twist in my story? Yeah, I'm sure." The Hale house was a rainbow flag Victorian squeezed between Haight-Ashbury holdouts, all gingerbread trim and bay windows strung with fairy lights. Adrian's mom, Elena, hugged Isaiah like a long-lost son, her Puerto Rican warmth cutting through his nerves like sunlight. His dad, a retired architect with a salt and pepper beard, clapped him on the back and launched into tales of 70s bathhouse raids turned liberation marches. Dinner was chaos in the best way, laughter over pie, toasts to the family we choose. Lying in Adrian's childhood bed that night, posters of old queer icons peeling from the walls, Isaiah whispered, "This feels like home." Adrian's arms tightened around him, a vow in the dark. "It is. You're stuck with us now." But homecomings have a way of unearthing ghosts. Back in Berkeley, Adrian's absences stretched, weekends at conferences in Palo Alto, cryptic emails from a mentor named Jordan. Isaiah buried himself in his thesis, but doubt gnawed like termites in the stacks. One rainy Tuesday, scrolling Instagram in the library cafe, he froze. A photo of Adrian, arms slung around a lithe guy with model cheekbones, captioned "Reunited and it feels so good Throwback Thursday." The date? Last summer. The location? A Napa vineyard, the same one Adrian had discovered on their second date. Heart in his throat, Isaiah confronted him that night over takeout pho from a Divisadero hole in the wall. "Who's Jordan?" Adrian's chopsticks paused mid-air, face paling under the Edison bulbs. "An old friend. From before us." "Why?" Isaiah slid his phone across the table, the photo glaring like an accusation. "Because you said Napa was our spot. And this looks like more than mentorship." The air thickened, spicy broth turning to ash in Isaiah's mouth. Adrian rubbed his temples, the scar above his brow twitching. "It was more. Last year. But it's over, Isaiah. I swear." "Over how? Like, ghosted over? Or let's stay friends over?" Isaiah's voice rose, cracking on the edges. He'd read this scene in 100 novels, but living it felt like drowning in ink. Adrian reached for his hand, but Isaiah yanked back. "Jordan's married now. Closeted husband. The whole tragic American dream. We were a mistake, a relapse after his wedding. But you're not a mistake. You're the rewrite." The words hung, half apology, half confession, but they landed like punches. Isaiah stormed out into the drizzle, Adrian's pleas chasing him down the sidewalk. "Wait, I love you. Please, love." The word echoed in Isaiah's skull as he rode Bart home, the tunnel lights blurring into streaks of regret. He wanted to believe it, to let the romance win. But betrayal had a taste, bitter as the storm that started it all. Weeks blurred into a gray haze of avoidance, Isaiah dodging Adrian's texts like potholes on I-80, burying himself in the library's fluorescent tombs. The stacks, once a haven, now mocked him with their endless narratives of longing and loss, Wolf's waves crashing in misses. Dalloway, Baldwin's fire in Giovanni's room. How many loves had bloomed and withered here, under the watchful eyes of leather-bound sentinels? Isaiah's thesis stalled at chapter 3, his advisor's emails piling up like unanswered prayers. Adrian didn't give up. Flowers appeared on his doorstep, wild California poppies, defiant in their orange blaze. Notes scrawled in loopy script. One more chance to Gatsby this? Then the voicemails. Voice rough with sleep or something stronger. I fucked up. But you're the green light I can't look away from. Isaiah deleted them all, but each one chipped at the wall he'd built, brick by aching brick. Christmas crept in on tinsel wings, Berkeley streets aglow with menorahs and mangers cheek by jowl. Isaiah's mom called from Sacramento, her voice thick with eggnog cheer. Mijo, you sound sad. Is it that boy? The one with the pretty voice on speakerphone. He lied, said it was final stress, but the ache deepened. Family dinner was a solo affair. Ramen from the corner store, a bottle of cheap Cabernet, and a binge watch of It's a Wonderful Life that left him sobbing over George's bridge-jumping fantasies. New Year's Eve found him at a queer open mic in the Mission, the air thick with incense and unspoken heartbreaks. He hadn't planned to perform, but the MC's gaze snagged on him. You, curly hair in the back, got something to say. And suddenly Isaiah was at the mic, words tumbling out like confessions in a blackout. It's like loving in the dark, he began, voice steady despite the quake in his chest. You reach for a hand, and it pulls you under. But what if the current's trying to save you? What if the stranger's kiss was the map you didn't know you needed? The room hushed, a sea of nodding heads and misty eyes. He poured it all, the library spark, the Napa lie, the terror of loving big in a world that shrinks you small. Applause thundered when he finished, but it was the lone figure in the doorway that stopped his breath. Adrian, coat dripping from the rain, eyes red-rimmed and raw. Backstage, in the green room that smelled of patchouli and old amps, they collided not with anger, but hunger. Adrian's hands framed Isaiah's face, thumbs brushing tears Isaiah hadn't noticed. That was you up there. All fire and truth. I don't deserve it, but God, I need it. Isaiah's resolve crumbled like wet sand. You hurt me, Adrian. Trust isn't code you can debug. I know. Adrian's forehead pressed to his, breaths mingling in the dim. Let me earn it back. Starting with honesty, Jordan's out of my life. For good. And the absences? I've been pitching that app QueerConnect to VCs. It's for kids like you were, scared in the suburbs. I wanted it perfect before telling you, because you're part of it now. My co-founder, if you'll have me. The vulnerability in Adrian's voice, the crack in his unbreakable facade, undid Isaiah. They kissed then, slow and searching, tasting salt and second chances. The New Year fireworks popped outside, but their spark was quieter, deeper, promise etched in the marrow. Spring unfurled like a hesitant lover, cherry blossoms dusting the Berkeley hills in pink confetti. Their rhythm rebuilt, brick by tender brick. Mornings coding side by side in Adrian's Oakland loft, Isaiah's lit brain clashing brilliantly with Adrian's tech wizardry. Evenings at the Berkeley Repertory Theater, hands clasped during Angels in America revivals, whispering lines like shared secrets. Adrian's family folded Isaiah in tighter, Elena teaching him eras con Gandals over FaceTime, his dad sketching blueprints for their future queer empire. But love's garden grows weeds if untended. The app gained traction, a beta launch connecting rural LGBTQ+ teens to mentors, But so did the scrutiny. Investors circled like sharks, demanding scalability, market fit. Adrian dove in headfirst, nights blurring into code marathons, his easy laugh fading to strained smiles. Isaiah felt the drift, a subtle tide pulling them apart. Crested in June, heat wave baking the bay like a forgotten pie. Isaiah's thesis defense loomed, a gauntlet of tweed-jacketed professors probing his soul on paper. He needed Adrian's steadiness, but found only echoes, voicemails about one more meeting, texts at dawn. Desperation led him to Adrian's inbox. Left open on the laptop, a betrayal of his own making. Emails from Jordan flooded the screen, not ancient history but fresh wounds. Miss our talks. Napa this weekend? For old times. Replies from Adrian. Can't. Committed now. But then, a folder buried deep. Photos. Intimate. Timestamped last month. A hotel in Palo Alto. Bodies entwined in sheets that weren't Isaiah's. The world tilted. Oxygen sucked from the room. He confronted Adrian at the loft that evening. Laptop clutched like evidence in a trial. This is commitment? While I'm pouring my guts into us. You're. Adrian's face drained of color. Hands raised in surrender. Wait. It's not. What? Not what it looks like. Isaiah's voice shattered. Tears hot on his cheeks. You said he was gone. You lied. Again. Adrian sank to the couch, head in hands. He showed up at the pitch. Ambushed me after drinks with the VCs. I was buzzed. Stupid. Pushed him away. But it escalated. I stopped it. Swear to God. I stopped it. Stopped it after? The words choked out. Venom and grief intertwined. Isaiah's mind reeled. Visions of Napa vines twisting into nooses. Library shadows hiding knives. I can't do this, Adrian. The rewrite's just the same damn story. He fled to the library. The one place that had birthed them. Now a mausoleum of memories. Curled in the third-floor stacks. Gatsby mocking from the shelf. Isaiah wept until dawn. The buildings hum a lullaby for the broken. Adrian's texts came in barrages. Please. I destroyed us, but I can fix it. Isaiah silenced his phone, but the silence screamed louder. Days stretched to weeks. Summer solstice mocking with endless light. Isaiah defended his thesis, aced it, even numb applause ringing hollow. Graduation caps sailed like confetti funerals, and he packed for Sacramento, a retreat masked as homecoming. The flight south was turbulence incarnate, clouds boiling like his thoughts. Mom met him at the gate, her hug fierce and knowing. Hearts heal, Mijo. But they scar pretty, too, over backyard barbecues and tamale-making marathons. Isaiah exhaled, piecing himself back. Runs along the American River. Coffee with old high school friends who'd come out in solidarity. Whispers of job offers from Sacramento State. A fresh start in familiar soil. Adrian's last message arrived on the 4th of July. As fireworks bloomed over the levees. Saw your defense online. Proud doesn't cover it. If you ever want to talk. Not fix. Just talk. I'm here. Always your stranger in the dark. Isaiah read it under starlight, thumb hovering over delete. Instead, he replied, maybe someday. For now, I'm finding my own light. Healing wasn't linear, but it crept in therapy sessions unpacking Sacramento closets. A tentative grinder profile that led to coffee, not sparks. Isaiah wrote 2 essays on betrayal syntax, submitted to queer-lit journals that paid invalidation. The app launched without him, a quiet success Adrian touted in interviews, always crediting the muse who got away. Autumn returned, leaves turning gold like alchemical hope. Isaiah settled into adjunct life at Sac State, received an invite, Queer Connect's first anniversary gala in San Francisco. He almost tossed it, but curiosity or masochism won. The venue was a Castro warehouse turned wonderland, rainbow projections dancing on brick walls. Adrian spotted him across the room, mid-toast to donors, faltering like a skipped heartbeat. Later, by the bar, nursing club sodas, they talked, awkward at first, then honest. "I sold the company," Adrian said, voice steady. "Used the payout to fund scholarships for outed kids in the Central Valley." "Your words, from that open mic, they stuck." Isaiah nodded, the scar of it all a faint throb. "I'm glad. We were real, once. That counts." Adrian's eyes softened, the obsidian gleam tempered by time. "Still are, if you want. No strings, no fixes. Just two guys who crashed in the dark and found their way out." Isaiah let the possibility linger, a green light on the horizon. Not a rewrite, but a new chapter, human, flawed, enduring. The gala's afterglow faded into the Castro's neon pulse. But Isaiah's pulse raced on, Adrian's words a refrain he couldn't mute. They parted with a hug, chaste, lingering, Adrian's cologne stirring ghosts of tangled sheets. Back in Sacramento, the river's whisper became his therapist. Miles logged at dawn chasing clarity. Was it nostalgia or something unfinished? The question itched like wool in summer. Adjunct life was a grind. Lecture halls echoing with half-engaged freshmen, stacks of ungraded papers breeding like rabbits. But it grounded him, these kids with their TikTok activism and unscarred hopes. One, a quiet trans boy named Kai, lingered after class one Tuesday, eyes downcast. "Professor R? Your essay in Outright, the one on library kisses?" "Helped. Made me text my crush." Isaiah's throat tightened, the weight of mentorship a quiet honor. He emailed Adrian that night, "Impulsive, your app saved a kid today." Indirectly. The reply pinged instant, "Our app. Proud of you." No pressure, just presence, a bridge neither had burned. Fall quarter peaked in a whirlwind of midterms and Mom's birthday bash, where Tios grilled him on El Novio with winks and whiskeys. Isaiah deflected with laughs, but Elena Hale's surprise FaceTime call, insistent, maternal, cracked his facade. "Mijo, life's too short for what-ifs. Come for Dia de los Muertos. We'll make pan de muerto and talk sense into you boys." He went, the drive over Altamont Pass a meditation in fog. The Hale Victorian glowed like a beacon, ofrenda laden with marigolds and framed photos. Adrian at 10, gap-toothed grin. Elena and her late wife, arms entwined at a 90s march. Adrian met him at the door, flour-dusted apron over jeans, that crooked smile tentative. "Mom's bossing the kitchen. You're on altar duty." The weekend unfolded in rituals of remembrance. Candlelit stories of lost loves, sugar skulls etched with names, Isaiah's ex, Adrian's high school flame claimed by AIDS. Vulnerability flowed like a toll, loosening tongues. Late Saturday, on the rooftop under a blanket of stars, Adrian passed a joint, the smoke curling like confessions. "I was scared," he admitted, voice gravelly, "of messing up the one good thing. Thought keeping Jordan's shadow secret would protect us. Stupid." Isaiah exhaled slow, the THC softening edges. It wasn't just you. I hid, too, my doubts. The way your ambition scared me. Like I'd never measure up. Their hands found each other, natural as breathing, and in that velvet dark, they kissed. Not a storm, but a steady rain, washing clean. No vows, just a mutual nod. Try again, wiser. Winter settled, crisp and clarifying. They navigated long distance with intention, weekend Amtrak rides, virtual dates dissecting moonlight over Zoom. Adrian, untethered from the startup grind, took consulting gigs that left room for life, hikes in Muir Woods, where redwoods whispered approval. Isaiah's writing bloomed, a novel contract from a small queer press. Shadows in the stacks, their story fictionalized, thorns and all. But romance's honeymoon wanes, and there's crested in conflict's undertow. Spring brought Adrian a job offer, lead dev at a Seattle nonprofit, rain-soaked liberation for LGBTQ plus refugees. It's huge, but it's us or it. Isaiah's world narrowed to the phone screen, miles between them suddenly oceans. You know it's you. Always. But doubt crept. A serpent in the garden. Visions of Adrian vanishing into evergreens. Another ghost in the machine. The move happened in fits, U-Hauls and heartbreak calls. Isaiah flying up for housewarmings in Capitol Hill Victorians. Seattle suited Adrian. Grunge edge softening his polish. Coffee-fueled nights yielding poetry apps for displaced queer voices. Isaiah visited, falling for the fairies' foghorn laments. But roots tugged south. Mom's health scare. A tenure-track whisper at Sac State. Tensions simmered, unspoken. A July weekend. Pike Place bustle masking the boil. It erupted over dim sum. Adrian's phone buzzed. Jordan again. Congrats on the gig, laced with old intimacy. Isaiah saw red. Block him. For real this time. Adrian's jaw set, chopsticks snapping. He's reaching out as a friend. Alumni network. You don't trust me? It's not trust. It's patterns. Isaiah's voice carried, heads turning in the steamy tea house. You say you're all in. Then these echoes. I'm tired of being the footnote. Adrian's eyes flashed, hurt mirroring anger. And you're the one who bolted first. Remember, after Napa? I rebuilt alone. The words landed like slaps, silence swallowing the steam. Isaiah stormed to the waterfront, salt air stinging tears. Watching gulls will like accusations. Adrian found him hours later, sunset bleeding orange into the sound. I blocked him, deleted everything. But this? We can't keep score. Isaiah turned, the fight draining like tide. Then what? Compromise or combust? Adrian pulled him close, waves lapping agreement. Courtship 3.0. You apply for that visiting prof gig here. I cut gigs for balance. We build, not bolt. They did or tried. Isaiah's visiting lectures at UW lit Seattle's queer theory scene ablaze. His novel's launch party a Castro echo in the Pacific Northwest chill. Dates wove through markets and museums, hands linked against the drizzle. But distance's ghost lingered, a third wheel in their bed. Climax brewed in autumn's amber. Adrian's 30th birthday a catalyst. A surprise party at a Fremont warehouse. Drag queens lip-syncing Baldwin. Cake frosted with binary code. Isaiah flew up, gift in tow. A first edition Giovanni's Room. Inscribed to my stranger, my light. But mid-toast, Adrian's colleague, a sharp-witted non-binary dev named Riley, slid close, whispers turning to touches that blurred professional lines. Isaiah clocked it from across the room, champagne turning vinegary. Later, in the cab home, he unloaded, flirting with Riley? On your birthday, while I'm here. Uprooting everything, Adrian recoiled, the leather seats creaking tension. It was nothing, a joke, networking. You're seeing shadows again. Shadows you cast. Isaiah's voice broke, the city lights streaking like tears. Betrayal's cycle spun vicious. Adrian's defensiveness fueling Isaiah's flight reflex. Back at the apartment, bags packed by dawn, Isaiah left a note. I love you too much to watch us fade. Find your light without me. The flight to Sacramento was a blur of regret and resolve. Mom's arms a harbor at baggage claim. Again. Mijo, this one's different. I see it in your eyes. He nodded, throat tight. Maybe. But love shouldn't feel like war. Months carved canyons. Isaiah's novel hit shelves. Reviews praising its raw humanism. But launches felt hollow without Adrian's grin. Therapy unpacked the pattern. His fear of abandonment, rooted in Dad's early exit, amplified by Adrian's slips. Adrian's emails trickled. Seattle's rainy without you. Apps thriving, dedicated a feature to library ghosts. Isaiah replied sporadically, polite bridges over chasms. Winter solstice brought the storm's echo, a West Coast blackout. News feeds buzzing with library closures from Berkeley to Ballard. Isaiah, grading papers by candlelight in his sack apartment, felt the pull a text from Adrian power out. Thinking of that kiss. You? Always, Isaiah typed, heart stuttering like those first lights. Coffee? Neutral ground. They met in San Francisco, fog-shrouded neutral as the Golden Gate. Over lattes at a hate cafe. Stories spilled. Adrian's promotion. Riley a platonic ally. Isaiah's tenure offer. Mom's remission. Laughter bridged gaps. Touches tentative sparks. I'm done running, Isaiah said, steam curling between them. But I need all of you, no half-codes. No ghosts. Adrian's hand covered his, scar-flecked and sure. All in. Marry me? Not today, but someday. Build the life the blackout promised. Isaiah's yes was a whisper, a vow. They drove south together, radio crooning Springsteen, born to run, but choosing to stay. The engagement wasn't fireworks but a quiet supernova, sealed over tamales at Isaiah's mom's kitchen table. Rings swapped from a Castro jeweler's recycled gold. To strangers who found home, Adrian toasted, Elena's tears mixing with laughter. Planning wove them tighter. A small ceremony in Muir Woods, redwoods as witnesses, vows etched in earth and echo. But life's script twists. Spring bloomed betrayal's bitter flower anew, not Adrian's, but fate's cruel pen. Isaiah's novel tour pulled him east. Readings in New York lofts and Boston basements. Queer audiences devouring his words like manna. Adrian held the fort in Seattle. Video calls their tether, but distance bred disconnections weeds. It snapped in Chicago. Windy city gales mirroring inner tempests. A signing at Unabridged Books. Fans queuing with dog-eared copies. And there Jordan, leaner, eyes haunted, clutching shadows like a talisman. Your words gutted me, he said, voice low. Made me leave him. Come out. For real. Isaiah froze, pen hovering. Gratitude warred with wariness. Jordan's redemption a mirror to his own arcs. They talked post-event. Over dive bar IPAs. Jordan's story a litany of closets cracked open. Therapy, divorce, A new life in Wicker Park. Adrian saved me, indirectly. Through you. The call to Adrian that night was a minefield. He approached me. Apologized. Closure. Adrian's silence crackled, then erupted. Closure? Or temptation round 2? You're on tour, surrounded by admirers, and I'm here, holding patterns. Isaiah's hackles rose. Hotel room closing in. This again? Projecting your guilt onto me? The fight escalated. Words weapons. Adrian accusing Isaiah of flirting with literary fame. Isaiah hurling Adrian's past like grenades. You're the one who can't bury ghosts. I just met one. Lines slammed. Silence a void. Isaiah tossed through sheets. Chicago's skyline a accusatory glow. Morning brought regrets hangover. Voicemails. I'm sorry, fear talking. But pride held. Tour resuming in a fog of half-hearted autographs. Back west. Reconciliation loomed like a storm front. Adrian flew to Sacramento, meeting at the American River picnic blanket. Prosciutto sandwiches. The waters rush a neutral arbiter. I panicked, Adrian confessed, knees drawn up. Your book's blowing up, and I'm stagnant. Feels like you'll outgrow me. Isaiah's heart twisted, hand finding Adrian's. Outgrow? You're my plot, my twist. Jordan was a bookmark, not a chapter. They rebuilt from ruins. Couples counseling via Zoom. A Seattle SAC shuttle of visits. Adrian quit the nonprofit for freelance. Reclaiming time for pottery classes. Clay-spun mugs etched with library motifs. Isaiah scaled back tours. Prioritizing home. Mom's garden plots. Adrian's lopsided bowls. Summer's heat wave-tested. Air conditioners humming dirges. Adrian's ex-boss called. A crisis at the refugee center. Undocumented queer youth stranded by policy shifts. Just a month, Adrian pleaded over iced tea on Isaiah's porch. I can make a difference. Isaiah nodded, swallowing the pang. Go. Be the hero. I'll hold the fort. The month stretched to 6. Seattle's pull inexorable emergency visas. Midnight intakes. Adrian's voice hoarse on calls. Isaiah visited twice. The Space Needles spin a metaphor for their wobble. Loneliness crept. Empty bed. Unanswered texts. The river's murmur turning mocking. Crisis peaked in September. A raid on a shelter. Kids scattered. Adrian's face on news feeds. Gaunt and fierce. Isaiah booked the red-eye. Arriving to chaos. Cots in a church basement. Adrian coordinating with lawyers. Eyes lighting at Isaiah's threshold cross. You came, Adrian breathed, pulling him into a alcove. Kiss fierce as triage. Always, Isaiah murmured, but the word tasted of fracture. That night, over lukewarm coffee, truth spilled. This work, it's you, whole. But it's swallowing us. Adrian deflated, steam rising like sighs. I know. Offers permanent, but homes wherever you are. The choice crystallized in dawn's gray. Adrian resigned, returning south with a hybrid role, remote consulting, monthly Seattle trips. They honeymooned early in Big Sur, cliffs dropping to Pacific roars, vows renewed in salt spray. No more half-lives, Adrian promised, ring glinting. But humanism's pen dips in shadow. Winter brought Elena's diagnosis, stage 3 breast cancer, aggressive as a novel's antagonist. The Hales rallied. Isaiah at epicenter. Hospital vigils in UCSF's sterile halls. Adrian's hand anchor in the storm. Chemo cycles blurred days. Elena's laugh defiant amid nausea. One February eve, post-treatment glow, she pulled them close. You boys, my rainbows. Promise me, love loud, no regrets. Her passing in April was gentle. Marigolds at bedside, but the void echoed. Funeral rains lashed the Castro, mourners a tapestry of queer kin. Adrian shattered in the receiving line, Isaiah holding him as sobs racked. She believed in us, he whispered later, Victorian empty without her light. Grief wove them tighter, a scar-shared tapestry. Adrian channeled it into the foundation Elena Hale scholarships for queer caregivers. Isaiah's sequel poured out, Echoes of Us, dedication for Elena, who taught us home is heart-made. Spring's thaw brought renewal. Wedding in Muir Woods, 50 souls under ancient canopies. Kai officiating, Tios toasting in Spanglish. Vows echoed the blackout. In dark or light, you're my spark. Years unspooled like film reels. Isaiah tenured, Adrian's app acquired for impact. A surrogacy journey yielded Theo. Curls like Isaiah's, eyes like Adrian's, toddler chaos in their Oakland fixer-upper. Library date nights persisted. Story time in the stacks. Theo giggling at Gatsby's folly. One stormy eve. Power flickering. Theo asleep between them. Adrian murmured, Remember that kiss? Isaiah smiled, lips brushing his. How could I forget? It lit everything. In America's vast narrative, betrayals and redemptions, closets and cathedrals, their story hummed on, human, flawed, luminous. Epilogues not endings, but echoes, ripples from that library blackout lapping at shores unforeseen. Theo's 5th birthday dawned crisp. Oakland Hills emerald under June sun, the backyard strung with piñatas and pride flags snapping like applause. Isaiah manned the grill, flipping burgers with the precision of a man who'd learned to savor every sizzle. Adrian chasing their son through sprinklers, laughter a balm on old wounds. Papa! Catch! Theo squealed, hurling a water balloon that splattered Adrian's shirt, revealing the tattoo-inked post Elena. A green light etched over his heart, coordinates of UC Berkeley's 3rd floor. Isaiah's chest warmed, a decade's distance compressing to this family, forged in fire and forgiveness. The party swelled. Kai, now a counselor with Queer Connect's Sacramento branch, toting his husband and their twin girls. Isaiah's mom, silver-streaked and spry, bossing the salsa recipe. Adrian's dad, architect blueprints unfurled for a legacy library addition to the house. Tios swapped stories of Sacramento scandals, laughter drowning old whispers. Jordan even came, invited, redeemed, a quiet uncle figure, his partner a soft-spoken librarian who bonded with Isaiah over Wolf editions. As dusk painted the sky in lavender, guests gathered for cake. Theo's demand, chocolate frosted with binary sprinkles. Adrian hoisted their boy onto shoulders, leading a ragged chorus of happy birthday. Isaiah's phone capturing the blur, curls flying, eyes crinkled in joy. Later, tucking Theo in with the Great Gatsby abridged. Daddy, why's the man sad? Isaiah simplified. He chased dreams. Mijo. Sometimes they chase back. Bed shared. Sheets cool against sun-kissed skin. Adrian traced Isaiah's ring finger, gold warmed by day. 10 years since the storm. Feels like yesterday. Isaiah turned. Hazel meeting obsidian. The spark undimmed. And forever. You rewrote me, Adrian Hale. From stranger to soul. Adrian's kiss was slow, reverent, a library hush in their bedroom, thunder distant rumble. We rewrote each other. Human edition. Morning brought routine's grace. Coffee brewed strong. Theo's backpack packed for preschool. Kisses doled like currency. Isaiah's office at Cal State East Bay awaited freshman seminar on queer narratives. Syllabus laced with their stories' threads. Adrian's home setup hummed. Code for a new feature. AI mentors for isolated youth. Elena's voice in every line. But life's drama lingers. Unscripted. A call mid-commute. Adrian's dad. Voice wobbling, stroke. Sudden. In the Castro Victorian. They raced over. Theo in tow. The house a time capsule of marigolds faded on shelves. Hospital waits blurred. MRIs. Neurologists. The acrid scent of antiseptic a cruel nostalgia. Adrian paced like a caged wolf. Hand crushing Isaiah's. Not him. Not yet. Theo. Sensing the shift. Drew pictures. Stick figure grandpas under rainbows. Balloons for hope. Recovery was jagged. Rehab in Palo Alto. Dad relearning steps with a cane carved from redwood scrap. They shuttled weekends. Isaiah reading Baldwin aloud during physio. Adrian coding voice-activated aids. Bonds deepened. Tios flying in for support. Mom's tamales a weekly ritual. Crisis crested in a quiet betrayal. Not of hearts, but health. Dad's hidden finances. Debts from Elena's care unraveling the estate. Adrian uncovered it pouring over ledgers. Face ashen. He shielded us. Mortgaged everything. Isaiah's gut nodded. Echoes of Napa lies but purer. Love's quiet sacrifices. They rallied. GoFundMe laced with stories. Queer community surging donations from old app users. A Castro block party fundraiser. Jordan chipped in anonymously. A nod to amends. By autumn, the Victorian stabilized. Dad back in his armchair sketching adaptive homes for disabled queer elders. You boys, he rasped, eyes twinkling, taught me strengths in the leaning. Thanksgiving anchored them. Extended table groaning under Elena's recipes. Theo's handprint turkeys as placemats. Toasts circled, to ghosts who guided, to lights in blackouts. Adrian's arm around Isaiah's waist. Theo on his lap. The circle complete. Winter's hush brought introspection. Isaiah's sabbatical. A memoir on love's blackouts percolating. Adrian prototyped a VR library for remote storytimes. Theo beta testing with giggles. Date nights persisted. Bart to Berkeley. Third floor stacks hallowed ground. Fingers tracing spines like braille affections. One stormy February eve. Power faltered, flicker, plunge. The old familiar dark. Theo yelped from his room. Isaiah scooping him up. Adrian fumbling candles. In the glow, they gathered on the couch. Gatsby cracked open. Once upon a blackout, Adrian began. Voice a storyteller's rumble. A stranger kissed a boy. And worlds changed. Theo's eyes widened. Isaiah's heart swelled. The tale spun anew. Thorns trimmed to wonders. Lights hummed back. But the spark endured. Illuminating corners once shadowed. In America's grand, gritty tapestry, betrayals mended. Loves reclaimed. Their narrative whispered on. Not flawless, but fiercely human. From library abyss to family hearth, Isaiah and Adrian proved it. Sometimes, the stranger's kiss isn't just a beginning. It's the whole damn beautiful mess.